This story is very meaningful. Everyone should hear it. Listen to Brian tell the story. My name is Mia Carter, and I'm 24 years old, a music student with a habit of falling too hard and too fast. I've got shoulder-length brown hair that's always a little messy, hazel eyes that my sister says give away every emotion I'm feeling, and a laugh that's louder than I mean it to be. I grew up in a small town just outside New York City, raised by a single dad who taught me to love old vinyl records and late-night talks. I'm stubborn, emotional, and maybe a little naive, qualities that landed me in the mess I'm about to tell you. This is my story, a tangled mess of love, heartbreak, and family secrets that nearly broke me. But let's start with the moment everything went off the rails. The night Ethan Brooks, my best friend and the man I'd loved for years, pushed me away when I tried to kiss him, and I spiraled into a darkness I didn't know I could survive. It was late 2019, a cold November night in my cramped New York apartment. The walls were thin, the radiator hissed like it was mocking me, and the air smelled faintly of the cheap lavender candle I'd lit to calm my nerves. I'd spent weeks, no months, building up the courage to tell Ethan how I felt. He was sitting on my sagging green couch, his long legs stretched out, a half-empty beer bottle dangling from his hand. His brown hair fell into his eyes, and that lopsided smile I adored was playing on his lips as he rambled about some article we'd read in class. I wasn't listening. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear him over it. I'd planned this, a quiet night, just us, a bottle of red wine I'd splurged on, and the truth. I loved him. I'd loved him since the day we met 2 years ago when he'd borrowed a pencil from me in music theory, and then spent the next hour doodling lyrics on my notebook instead of returning it. The room felt smaller than usual, the dim light from a single lamp casting shadows that danced across Ethan's face. I could smell his cologne, something woodsy and faint, mixing with the lavender, and it made my stomach twist. I shifted in my seat, tugging at the hem of my oversized sweater, my palms sweaty despite the chill seeping through the window. Every time he laughed, a low rumble that filled the space, it was like a jolt to my chest. I'd rehearsed this moment in my head 100 times, but now that it was here, my tongue felt heavy, my throat tight. "Mia, you're quiet tonight," Ethan said, tilting his head to look at me. His eyes caught mine, and there it was again, that look. 6 seconds too long, soft and searching, with that little smile that drove me crazy. My breath hitched. Did he know? Was this his way of testing me? "Just tired," I lied, forcing a smile. I took a sip of wine, the bitter taste grounding me for a second. "Long day." He nodded, leaning back. "Yeah, that class is brutal. I swear, Professor Lin's out to get us." He launched into a story about how he'd nearly failed a quiz, his hands waving animatedly. I watched him, memorizing every detail, the way his fingers curled around the bottle, the freckle on his left knuckle, the way his voice dipped when he got excited. I wanted to bottle this moment, keep it forever, because I knew what I was about to say might shatter it. The doorbell buzzed, sharp and jarring, cutting through the haze. I flinched, nearly spilling my wine. "Who's that?" Ethan asked, eyebrows raised. "No idea," I muttered, setting my glass down. My heart sank. I didn't want anyone else here, not now. I shuffled to the door, peering through the peephole. It was Chloe Bennett, her blonde hair glowing under the hallway light, a bottle of tequila swinging in her hand. Behind her stood a guy I didn't recognize, tall, dark-haired, with a leather jacket and a smirk that screamed trouble. "Surprise," Chloe chirped when I opened the door, brushing past me without waiting for an invite. "I was in the neighborhood, and I figured you could use some fun. This is Derek, by the way. Met him at a gig last night." Derek gave me a lazy nod, his eyes scanning the room like he owned it. "Nice place," he said, his voice rough, dripping with sarcasm as he took in the peeling paint and mismatched furniture. I didn't like him already. Thanks," I said, shutting the door. My stomach churned. This wasn't the plan. Ethan stood up, grinning as he greeted Chloe with a hug. "Didn't expect you tonight," he said, then nodded at Derek. "Hey, man." "Thought I'd shake things up," Chloe said, plopping onto the couch and cracking open the tequila. "Mia's been moping lately. Time to loosen up." She shot me a knowing look, and I wanted to sink through the floor. She knew about my feelings for Ethan, had guessed it months ago over coffee, and now she was here, derailing everything. "I haven't been moping," I protested, crossing my arms. My face felt hot, and I avoided Ethan's gaze. "Sure," Chloe teased, pouring shots into the mismatched mugs I kept on the coffee table. "Drink this, and maybe you'll tell me what's really going on." Derek laughed, a sharp sound that grated on my nerves. "She looks like she's got secrets," he said, leaning against the wall, his eyes flicking between me and Ethan. You two a thing or what? My heart stopped. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head. Nah, just friends, he said, casual as ever, but his words stabbed me. Just friends. I forced a laugh, grabbing a mug from Chloe to hide the sting. The tequila burned going down, matching the fire in my chest. Let's play a game, Chloe said, clapping her hands. Truth or dare? Mia, you start. I'm not in the mood, I said, but she waved me off. Too bad. Truth, what's been eating you lately? Her blue eyes locked on mine, daring me to lie. I swallowed hard, the room spinning slightly from the shot. Ethan was watching me, curious. Derek smirked like he could smell the tension. Just school stuff, I mumbled, my voice barely audible. Lame, Derek said, taking a swig straight from the bottle. I'll go. Dare me. Kiss the wall, Chloe said, giggling. Derek rolled his eyes but did it, planting a dramatic smooch on the chipped paint. Ethan laughed, and I tried to join in, but my mind was racing. I needed them gone. I needed to tell Ethan, now before I lost my nerve again. My turn, Ethan said, leaning forward. Mia, dare me. My mouth went dry. I dare you to. Stay after they leave, I said, my voice trembling. Chloe raised an eyebrow, but Ethan just grinned. Easy enough, he said, and my heart leapt. Maybe this could work. The night dragged on, Chloe and Derek getting louder, drunker, while I nursed my second shot, my nerves fraying. Derek kept needling me. You're too quiet, Mia. What's your deal? And Chloe kept watching me like she knew exactly what I was planning. Finally, around midnight, Derek stumbled into the kitchen, muttering about finding food, and Chloe followed, laughing as she dragged him out the door. Don't do anything I wouldn't, she called, winking at me. Then it was just us again. Ethan stretched, yawning. They're a lot, he said, settling back onto the couch. You okay? You've been weird all night. This was it. I sat beside him, closer than usual, my knee brushing his. Ethan, I started, my voice shaking. I need to tell you something. He turned to me, his face soft, open, my hands clenched into fists, nails digging into my palms. I'm in love with you. I have been for 2 years. The air went still. His smile faded, replaced by something I couldn't read. Shock? Fear? He set his beer down, running a hand through his hair. Mia, he said, slow, careful. You're drunk. You don't mean that. I'm not drunk, I said, louder than I meant to. I've felt this every day. Every time you look at me, every time we're together, it's killing me. Tears welled up, and I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. He stood, pacing a step away. Mia, I don't know what to say. His voice cracked, and my hope flared. Maybe he felt it too. I stood, stepping closer, my heart hammering. Say you feel it too, I whispered, and before I could think, I leaned in, pressing my lips to his. For a heartbeat, he didn't move. His lips warm, soft, a dream I'd had 1,000 times. Then his hands were on my shoulders, pushing me back gently. No, he said, his voice low, pained. I'm sorry, Mia. I can't. I stumbled back, my face burning, my chest caving in. Why not? I choked out, tears spilling over. Because you're my best friend, he said, his eyes pleading. I don't want to lose you. You already have, I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just nodded, turning away as he grabbed his jacket. I'll call you tomorrow, he said, but I didn't answer. The door clicked shut, and I sank to the floor, sobbing into my hands. The next morning, my head throbbed, my eyes swollen. I found a text from Chloe. You okay? Saw Ethan leave. Call me. I didn't. I found the whiskey under the sink instead, pouring a glass with shaking hands. It was the first of many. Days blurred into weeks. I stopped going to class, stopped answering my phone. Lauren showed up one afternoon, banging on my door until I let her in. Jesus, Mia, she said, her voice sharp but her brown eyes wide with worry. The apartment was a disaster. Bottles everywhere, trash overflowing, my guitar gathering dust in the corner. What happened? Ethan doesn't love me, I said, my voice flat, sitting on the couch with a blanket around my shoulders. She sat beside me, pulling me into a hug. Then he's an idiot. But you can't do this to yourself. I didn't argue. I just cried, and she held me until I fell asleep. Then Victor happened. I'd been dodging the music festival work, but he wouldn't let it go. He called me one night, his voice booming through the phone. Carter, where's the damn schedule? You're screwing me over. I mumbled an apology, my words slurring. Are you drunk? He snapped. Pathetic. He hung up, and I threw my phone across the room, shattering the screen. I started seeing things. Shadows moving, voices whispering. I'd hear Victor's sneer and the radiator's hiss, convinced he'd bugged my place. I'd check the windows, the locks, over and over, my hands trembling. I was losing it, and I knew it, but the whiskey kept the fear at bay. One night, I called Ethan drunk and desperate. "I need you," I slurred, tears streaming down my face. He was there in 20 minutes, banging on my door. "Mia, open up," he shouted. I did, and he pulled me into a hug, his jacket cold against my skin. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice soft now, scared. "I'm a mess," I sobbed into his chest. "I love you, and it's ruining me." He held me tighter, stroking my hair. "You're not ruined," he said. "You're Mia." I looked up, his face blurry through my tears, and tried to kiss him again. He pulled back, shaking his head. "Not like this," he said, stepping away. "Get some sleep. I'll check on you tomorrow." He left, and I broke. I drank until I blacked out, waking up to Lauren shaking me, her face pale. "Dad's taking you home," she said. "This stops now." I moved back to Dad's house upstate, a small cabin surrounded by pines. He didn't ask much, just made me coffee, left me books, let me cry. I slept, played video games, drank in secret until he caught me one morning, sprawled on the bathroom floor. "Rehab," he said, his voice firm but his eyes wet. No arguments. Rehab was hell, cold beds, endless talks, strangers who saw through my lies. "You made Ethan your everything," my counselor, Dr. Ellis, said one day, her gray hair pulled tight. "He's just a guy, Mia, not your savior." I hated her for it, but she was right. The room we sat in was stark white, with a single window letting in weak January light that barely warmed the linoleum floor. Her voice was calm, steady, like she'd said this 100 times before, and it grated on me. I sat across from her, my hands twisting in my lap, nails bitten down to the quick. I wanted to argue, to scream that she didn't understand. Ethan wasn't just a guy, he was my anchor, my light, but the words wouldn't come. They stuck in my throat, heavy and useless, because deep down I knew she'd hit the truth. The center smelled like antiseptic and burnt coffee, a mix that turned my stomach every morning when I shuffled into the common room. The other patients were a blur at first, hollow eyes, shaky hands, stories I didn't want to hear. But one of them stood out. Tessa, a wiry girl with dyed purple hair and a scar cutting across her left eyebrow. She was maybe 19, loud and abrasive, always pacing like a caged animal. "First time?" she asked me on my second day, leaning against the wall near the water cooler, her voice rough from too many cigarettes. I nodded, avoiding her gaze. "Figures. You've got that deer in headlights look. What's your poison?" "Whiskey," I muttered, clutching a styrofoam cup of lukewarm tea. My hands trembled slightly, a leftover from the withdrawals that still woke me up sweating at night. She smirked, crossing her arms. "Classy. Mine's pills. Oxy, mostly. Landed me here after I trashed my mom's car." Her eyes flicked over me, sharp and curious. "So who screwed you up? Boyfriend?" "No," I said too quickly, my face heating up. "Just a friend." "Sure," she said, dragging the word out like she didn't believe me. "Keep telling yourself that." She pushed off the wall and sauntered away, leaving me feeling exposed, like she'd peeled back a layer I wasn't ready to show. Tessa became a fixture after that, always hovering, always talking. She'd sit across from me at group sessions, picking at her chipped black nail polish while I stumbled through my story. "2 years pining for some dude who didn't want you?" she said once, loud enough that the whole circle turned to look. "That's dedication, or stupidity." "Shut up," I snapped, my cheeks burning. Dr. Ellis raised a hand, her expression neutral. "Tessa, let her speak," she said, but Tessa just grinned, unapologetic. I hated her guts, but she had a way of cutting through the fog in my head, forcing me to face things I'd rather bury. Then there was Marcus, the night orderly. He was big, broad-shouldered, with a shaved head and a quiet voice that didn't match his size. He'd patrol the halls after lights out, his flashlight beam slicing through the dark. I'd see him when I couldn't sleep, sitting by the window in my room, staring at the snow piling up outside. "Rough night?" he asked one time, pausing by my door. His tone wasn't pitying, just matter-of-fact, and it made me feel less like a wreck. "Yeah," I said, my voice hoarse. "Keep thinking he's out there, waiting for me to call." "Ethan?" he asked. I'd mentioned him in passing once, a slip I regretted. I nodded, pulling my knees to my chest. Marcus leaned against the frame, crossing his arms. "He's not here, Mia. You are. Focus on that." It wasn't profound, but it stuck with me, a lifeline in the mess of my thoughts. Days bled into weeks. I hated the routine. Group therapy at 9, one-on-one with Dr. Ellis at noon, meals I barely touched. My body ached, my head pounded, and the cravings clawed at me like a living thing. I'd sit in the bathroom sometimes, staring at the tiles, imagining a bottle in my hand, the burn of it down my throat. But I didn't break. Not yet. One afternoon, Tessa dragged me into a fight that nearly got us both kicked out. We were in the rec room, a dingy space with a busted TV and a stack of dog-eared paperbacks. She'd been arguing with another patient, a twitchy guy named Leo who'd been caught smuggling cigarettes. "You're a snitch," she spat, jabbing a finger at him. Leo lunged, and I don't know why I stepped in. Maybe I was just tired of the noise, but I grabbed her arm, pulling her back. "Let go, princess," she snarled, yanking free. Leo swung at her, missed, and hit me instead, his fist clipping my jaw. Pain exploded across my face, and I stumbled, tasting blood. Marcus burst in, hauling Leo off while Tessa laughed, wild and unhinged. "You're crazier than me," she said, clapping me on the shoulder as I pressed a hand to my swelling cheek. Dr. Ellis wasn't happy. "What were you thinking?" she asked later, her pen tapping against her clipboard. "I wasn't," I admitted, my voice muffled by the ice pack Marcus had given me. "Just happened." She sighed, setting the clipboard down. "You're not here to save anyone else, Mia. You're here for you. Stop running from that." Her words stung, but they sank in. I'd spent so long chasing Ethan, then drowning him out, that I didn't know who I was without him in the picture. Nights were the worst. I'd lie in that stiff bed, the springs creaking under me, replaying that November night. His lips on mine for half a second, then the push, the rejection. I'd hear his voice, "I can't do this." And my chest would tighten until I couldn't breathe. Marcus caught me crying once, my face buried in the pillow. "Want to talk?" he asked, his shadow filling the doorway. "No," I said, wiping my eyes. "Just tell me it gets easier." "It does," he said, simple and sure. "But you've got to let him go first." Letting go felt impossible. Ethan was everywhere, in the songs I couldn't listen to, the bars I couldn't walk past, the empty space on my couch. But rehab forced me to try. Dr. Ellis made me write letters I'd never send, pages of anger, love, hurt, all poured out in shaky handwriting. "Burn them when you're ready," she said. I didn't. I kept them in a shoebox under my bed, a weight I wasn't ready to release. Tessa found out about the letters one day, snooping while I was in the shower. "Damn, you're a poet," she said, holding one up when I walked in, my hair dripping. "Your smile cuts me deeper than I'll ever admit. That's some heavy shit." "Give it back," I snapped, snatching it from her. My face burned, shame and fury twisting together. "Chill," she said, raising her hands. "I get it. Had a girl once who messed me up too. Wrote her a song, then smashed my guitar. Felt good." "I'm not smashing anything," I muttered, stuffing the letter back in the box. But her words lingered. Maybe I needed to break something. Myself, my habits, my obsession, to move on. 3 months in, I got a visitor. Lauren showed up on a Saturday, her scrubs swapped for a thick coat, her dark hair tucked under a beanie. "You look like crap," she said, hugging me tight in the visitor's room. The familiar smell of her lavender shampoo made my eyes sting. "Thanks," I said, managing a weak laugh. We sat on plastic chairs, a scratched table between us. "How's Dad?" "Worried sick," she said, her voice softening. "He blames himself, you know. Thinks he should have seen this coming." "It's not his fault," I said, guilt gnawing at me. "It's mine." "No," she said firmly, grabbing my hand. "It's Ethan's, that bastard. I should have punched him when I had the chance." I smiled despite myself. "He didn't mean to hurt me." "Doesn't matter," she said. He did." She pulled a photo from her purse, me and her at the beach last summer, grinning like idiots. "This is who you are, Mia, not this place. Come back to us, okay?" I nodded, tears slipping down my cheeks. "I'm trying." After she left, I sat in group, half listening as Tessa ranted about her mom. Leo glared at me from across the circle, his lips still bruised from our fight. I didn't care. Lauren's words echoed in my head. Come back to us. I wanted to. But Ethan's ghost wouldn't let go. Then came the call. Marcus handed me the phone one evening, his face unreadable. "It's for you," he said. I took it, my stomach dropping. "Mia?" Ethan's voice crackled through, soft and hesitant. "It's me." My heart stopped. "Why are you calling?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "I heard you're somewhere. I just wanted to check on you." "I'm fine," I lied, gripping the receiver so hard my knuckles whitened. "Don't worry about me." "Mia, he started, but I cut him off. "Don't," I said, my throat tight. "I can't do this right now." I hung up, my hands shaking as I handed the phone back to Marcus. He didn't ask, just nodded, but I saw the question in his eyes. That night, I burned the letters. Tessa helped, sneaking matches from the kitchen. We stood in the courtyard, the snow crunching under our boots, watching the flames eat my words. "Feel better?" she asked, her breath fogging in the cold. "Not yet," I said, but the weight was lighter. I left rehab in April 2020, sober but fragile. Dad picked me up, his old truck rattling down the highway. "Proud of you," he said, his voice gruff. I cried the whole way home. Back at school, I avoided Ethan. Chloe texted me. "He's a wreck, Mia, misses you like crazy." But I didn't reply. I wasn't ready. Instead, I threw myself into music, late nights in the studio, fingers bleeding on guitar strings. Then Jake walked in, a shy library assistant with cookies and a smile that didn't demand anything. We started slow. Coffee, talks, walks in the park. By 2022, I loved him. Steady and real. We got engaged in 2025, and I thought I'd left Ethan behind. But he called again years later. "I need to see you," he said. I met him, heard his truth. He'd loved me too late. I walked away, free. Emily, Jake's sister, fought her own war. Sasha, her stepmom, turned a Disney trip into chaos, obsessing over Lily. Karen, Sasha's sister, warned of worse to come. Sasha stalked them, broke down, left. I married Jake, Emily healed. But life's never that neat, is it? I'd been through it all by the time the dust settled, loving Ethan until it tore me apart, drowning in whiskey to forget him, clawing my way out of rehab with people like Tessa and Marcus shoving me toward the light, and finally finding Jake, a man who didn't make me chase him. Emily's fight with Sasha mirrored my own in a way. Both of us tangled up in people who couldn't give us what we needed, both of us learning to stand up and walk away. Looking back, it's clear as day what this mess taught me, and I'm laying it out here because maybe it'll hit you too. First, love isn't supposed to break you. I spent years thinking Ethan's smiles, those long looks, meant he'd eventually see me the way I saw him. I turned him into my everything, my joy, my pain, my reason, and when he didn't catch me, I fell so hard I didn't know who I was anymore. Dr. Ellis was right. He was just a guy, not my savior. Real love, the kind I found with Jake, doesn't leave you bleeding on the floor. It lifts you, steady and quiet, without all the drama. If you're holding on to someone who doesn't hold you back, let go. It's not worth your soul. Second, you can't control what people give you, but you can damn well control what you take. Emily learned that with Sasha, pushing boundaries, twisting Lily into her fantasy, until Emily said enough. I learned it with Ethan, chasing crumbs of hope while he kept me at arm's length. Tessa called it masochism, and she wasn't wrong. We let ourselves hurt because we think we deserve it, but we don't. Set your lines, stand by them, and don't let anyone cross them, not even the ones you love. Third, rock bottom isn't the end, it's a start. Rehab was cold beds and hard truths, but it gave me Marcus telling me to focus on myself, Lauren reminding me who I was, even Tessa's sharp edges cutting through my excuses. I burned those letters, watched the smoke take Ethan's ghost away, and came out the other side. Emily did too, shielding her kids and building something stronger. You can fall, shatter, lose it all, and still get up. It's not pretty, but it's possible. So here's the thing. What about you? This story's done for me, but maybe it's not for you. Have you ever loved someone too hard, let them break you because you couldn't let go? Maybe you fought to protect something, yourself, your family, like Emily did. Or maybe you've hit that dark place and found a way out. I want to hear it. Drop your story below. Tell me what you've learned, what you're still figuring out. We're all in this mess of life together, right? Let's talk about it.